This presentation was to be held by Dr. Milona, who unfortunately was not possible to join us, so I will do it. It's a different. Let's change it a little bit and let's see how you will see these new things. We will start with the evolution of fishing tools in Greece over the millennia. Anybody that visits an archaeological museum in coastal places in Greece introduces the visitor to a rich variety of objects: fishing tools, anchors, natural and modified seashells, fish bones, representations in art like this one, that document the profound diachronic connection of Greeks to the sea and the fishing culture that has developed over the millennia. Here you can see some artifacts that reveal that fishing, especially the small-scale coastal fishing, is a rooted tradition in Greece, originating from the early Holocene, that is 11,000 years BC, and is continuing to thrive till today. In these images, we observe a depiction of an octopus on an amphora. You see it on the right, a fisherman holding an octopus, and in the center, a stone weight that features an octopus from Knossos, 1,500 years BC. Fishing gears has evolved significantly over the centuries, driven by the advancements in technology, materials, social changes, environmental understandings, and social needs. Despite these changes, the fundamental practices of fishing have remained unchanged. Let's take, for example, the iconic fish hook. The typical shape of a fish hook was first made of bone and antler in the Mesolithic period in the 11th century BC. As you can see it, this is from 9th century BC in Jura. A collection of those. It's a Jura island in the Sporades. The other image is from fish bones that were found in the same cave. So probably these fish were captured with these fish hooks. Later, in the era of large palatial civilization, in the 2nd millennium BC, fish hooks were made of copper or bronze. As you can see in the photographs, the bronze fish hooks from 1,500 BC are identical to modern ones. You can see that in the right, which are now crafted from steel. The fish hook retained its basic shape, and in the following photos, we see that the fish hooks function for millennia. The same can be observed for the use of several other fishing tools. The fishing rods, for example, simple or elaborated, is attested for thousands of years. On the left is a red-shaped cylinder from 5th century BC, and on the right, an image from a book of 1940. It's almost the same. It is far more common to find the durable elements of nets, such as the stone or lead weights. Here on the left is a Bronze Age example from Crete. These stone weights were found at Mochlos, and on the right, you see a modern ethnographic net that similar weights were used. Modern 1950s. This photo is very, very rare because it's an actual trammel net from 1650 BC. Of course, you know that nets cannot be preserved, so it's very, very rare to have a real net. This is from Acroteria, Santorini, and the plant fibers of the net were preserved because of the volcanic ash that covered the net. So it's one of the very rare examples of nets that we have. And you can see it's not very different from the nets that were used in the 1950s. More elaborate net fishing methods, such as the beach scene, you can see here, are also attested from archaeological finds. Here is a fascinating illustration of a Messenian vessel from Naxos, where we see a group of fishers pulling the beach net, having captured several large fish, probably tunas. In the right photograph, you see the exact same action, pulling the beach scene at 1950 from the island of Lefkada. Throw nets. Modern fishers still use weights similar to those from the 13th century BC. Long lines. Long lines were also used for centuries, and here you can see an Hellenistic example from Crete, 3rd century BC, which is almost similar to a modern one. Modern, 97, 98. Now they change with plastic, all of them. Another fishing technique with a long history is fishing with light at night, known as pyrophany in Greek. Pyros is the fire. Eh? You see a Byzantine scene, and next to it, a contemporary one around 1950s. We could go on like this with endless examples of long-surviving elements of fishing technology and fishing methods. But these are probably enough to make the point that small-scale coastal fishing in Greece, and in fact in the Mediterranean context, is strongly rooted in the past, and elements of it are surprisingly resilient. Nets of various types are also documented. Here you see a Byzantine fishing scene where trammel nets are used. This technology goes at least as far back as the Bronze Age. Turning to today's fishing industry in Greece, we have small-scale coastal fishing and medium-scale fishing, including purseaners and trawlers. According to the Greek Annual Fishing Fleet Report for 2023, there are 11,600 small-scale coastal fishing vessels and 548 medium-scale fishing vessels, belong to the two categories, the purseaners and the bottom trawlers. The introduction of GPS and other high-tech aids further changed the efficiency of the tools and the output of each fishing effort, and rendered much of the accumulated fisher's knowledge redundant. Today's small-scale coastal fisheries and their technology, however, diverge significantly from their older counterparts. The rowing or sailing crafts have been replaced by small and medium-sized fishing boats powered by engines. The fishing tools have become larger, more durable, and easier to handle. The silk nets, for example, have been replaced by plastic ones. There is a big question here. How relevant is the knowledge of the old fishing technology and the fishing ways of the past to any contemporary debate on fishing sustainability and the threats faced by fishing communities today? A global discourse is currently developed on traditional fisheries, on fisheries ecological knowledge, on historical baselines, and on the role of fishing cultural heritage as new ways to approach the old and largely unsolved problems of fisheries conservation. Calls for alternative views and collaborations across humanities and life sciences. In Greece, despite the empirically documented importance of fishing lifeways in many parts of the world, each fisheries history, the ethnography and anthropology of the fishing communities and such matters have gone largely unnoticed, unrecorded, and unstudied. Recently, some steps have been taken to remedy the problem as part of the EU Horizon research program Pericles, that is preserving and sustainably governing cultural heritage and landscapes in European coastal and maritime regions. The program focused on maritime coastal cultural heritage in Europe, and fishing cultural heritage was viewed as an aspect of maritime heritage, and in the Greek case study, it was viewed in a long-time historical perspective. Through our work with Pericles, we scratched the surface, so to speak, and became aware of the basic fact that fishing technology, modern or older, is part of fishing cultural heritage, and as such, their impact in fisheries should be viewed in a multitude of ways and not just in terms of productivity. In Pericles, we employed diverse methodologies, historical, ecological, anthropological, biological, and paid particular emphasis on systematic, multi-level collaboration with local communities. In the following slides, I will show you some chapters from the book, What is Cultural Fishing Heritage for You?, which is a tangible outcome of the Pericles project. In this chapter, we get to know Mr. Manos Koutrakis, a fisher from Samothraki. It's my father. He shared his experience of life at sea, including his adventures with storms and encounters with fishermen from the neighboring country. In another chapter, we learn about Mr. Zoi, one of the most important figures in the fishing community of Kavala, active during the Bulgarian occupation from 1941 to 1944. Mr. Zoi crafted silk nets using threads from silkworms which she raised in her yard for giving to the fishermen. Today, silk threads have been replaced by plastic ones, which are more cost-efficient and, of course, simpler to use. Another chapter, out of the 20 chapters of the book, describes conservation with fishermen from Kavala, rich with memories and stories of life in their former homelands, their ancestors, old and new fishing boats, significant catches, near disasters, shipwrecks, miracles at sea, exceptional fish recipes, and tales of prosperity and progress. These fishermen of Kavala, most of them came from the coast of Minor Asia, we can see here in the figure. And after 1922, that were expelled from Minor Asia, they came in North Greece and in a lot of islands of northern Greece, and they bring with them all their knowledge of how to fish, and that was the time that fishing was much more rich, and people get to work in more ways with fishing than in the past. Thank you very much. These are some photos of our collaborators at the Fisheries Research Institute, the Crete University, and INSTAP, to whom the success of this program is attributed. Thank you very much.